Hello, this is a follow-up to my chapter review slash breakdown, a new format where I will get more in-depth about the chapter and talk about things I found most interesting. First and mostly I want to talk about Furikov's Fullmetal Alchemist because I love this ability. It has that type of quirkiness I love about Nen abilities like Hakaware, which makes them so interesting. So just looking at the first menu, you can choose weapon, armor, or tools. So his ability can decipher another person's ability by being close to them and then create an object or weapon that can destroy or support and amplify that ability. So if he selects weapon, I assume there are different types of weapons there, but I wonder what type of icons he would have for something like Kite's weapon, which is bunch of weapons. And like, would there be a chains icon to decipher Kurapika's ability? Even though Kurapika's ability is not only his chains, but also Emperor Time, which allows him to create and use many of his chain abilities. So even if Yurika would destroy his chains, he would still be able to use Emperor Time. And if Yurika would decipher Kurapika's abilities, would he uncover all of the abilities with one decipher? Or does he have to do each finger separately and then create a counter or support item for each finger? This could actually be a way for Kurapika to get rid of the restriction on Chain Gel, that he can only use it on spiders. Like if Yurika would decipher his Chain Gel and then create an item that removes that restriction, then he could use Chain Gel against Serainik or whoever. Then in the armor category, I am thinking about Nen abilities that have to do with armor types. Vict has an ability called Tackle Shield that we have not seen, but it sounds like it would fit this category. Also, I am thinking of Painpacker, like if he destroyed Painpacker, then Phaeton would not be able to use Rising Sun anymore because nothing would protect him. Then let's go to tools option, which we already saw, but let's go through all the icons. There's a leaf, which could be a botanical ability, a flask, maybe a poison ability of some type of chemical ability, a pill, which would be a medical or drug related ability. Not sure what this is, it looks like a magnifying glass, so intelligence type abilities, maybe like secret window or silent worker, a book, and the first thing that probably comes to mind for everyone is skill hunter, and we will get to that in a bit. The curse, which we already saw, a scale that could mean some type of exchange ability. Again, the first thing that comes to mind is Nanika's wish granting, but I do not know what kind of aura reserves Nanika has, but her ability would probably take like 1,000 years to decipher because of how powerful it is. A pen, Neon's lovely Ghost Rider or Basho's Great Hiker. A flame, a heat type ability, I think, like Phaeton's Rising Sun. A water symbol, perhaps a water or some type of liquid ability. Electricity, a direct counter to Killua, and a gem or a treasure. Also, I said in my review that the other person could have been Longi or Salkov, but I completely forgot about Makaha, who together with Longi found out about the curse when they showed it to a Nen exorcist. But I also thought that it probably doesn't even show the other sacrifices but the prince who is the target of the curse. That way they would be part of the same curse that Furikov has, and it would just make more sense in my head. So a pretty common reaction I've seen so far, which also happens whenever a strong Nen ability is introduced to the story, is what if Chrollo gets this ability? And that would be interesting, and more interesting is how it would work with Skill Hunter. Like if he uses Skill Hunter to open the page of Fullmetal Alchemist and then uses Fullmetal Alchemist to decode Skill Hunter and creates a support item for Skill Hunter. Like what could it even be? Like maybe another bookmark so he could use 3 abilities at the same time, or 2 abilities without even holding the book. But I don't think Chrollo being able to use Furikov's ability is even possible, because the problem is you can't use Hatsu while an ability is being deciphered or an item is being created. And Chrollo using Skill Hunter to use Fullmetal Alchemist would definitely be him using Hatsu. So either he cannot even start the decoding as long as his book is open, or he can start the decoding and it will disable his Hatsu, causing Skill Hunter to stop working and making Fullmetal Alchemist disappear. Then there's the question of who is the target of Furikov's curse. I am somewhat inclined to believe that Beyond did not lie when he said that the curse will benefit Benjamin, meaning it is probably not Benjamin himself himself. It could have been Saleh Saleh, but I'm pretty sure the curse would disappear if the target died, since it would not fulfill the condition anymore. So I am going to assume there are 6 princes who are potentially his target. As to who is cursing Prince Wobble, if I understood correctly what Longy was explaining in 401, the person cursing Wobble should be pretty young. Perhaps it's baby Mina, assuming he's maybe 18 to 19 years old. Like Beyond prepared more children as new princes were born, but he always had a little extra. Also because Wobble is very young, and if we assume the person targeting Wobble is also fairly young, the curse would not be as strong as it is with Furikov, since Furikov's curse has been siphoning his aura his entire life, making it stronger. So maybe exorcising Wobble's curse is actually plausible. But then again, if Nanika will end up performing that, it is a non-issue. I will talk briefly about the Carnival, even though it is a very nauseating topic. But anyway, for 500 points, which prince do you think are taking part in the Carnival? I think the most obvious answer are Zerainik, Saleh Saleh, and then surprisingly maybe Zhanglei. Maybe he doesn't give that kind of a vibe, but he's a benefactor for Xiyu, who deal mostly in human trafficking. That could also be because Oniur is probably his father, but still it would be very strange to be sponsoring a human trafficking business if it does not align with your morals. Lazarus could also be on that list. He's been showing a pretty chill demeanor so far, but he's also sponsoring Mafia, and I think the cracks are showing in his charade. He's definitely a evil schemer who really wants to win the succession contest. Kurapika, after weighing the risks and rewards of sending the postcard and then ending up sending a postcard instead, I think will be some extremely convoluted thing we will spend a long time unraveling next chapter. But I don't mind, I like following Kurapika pulling extremely high IQ moves every chapter. Moving to the declaration of special martial law, I am very interested in what will happen to Camilla and Zerainik. In chapter 410, it has been 40 minutes since martial law was declared, and Benjamin has already moved to pursue the third prince, Zhanglei, so he's dealt with Zerainik and Camilla by then. But are they dead is another question on its own. Benjamin is aware of Camilla's Nen ability, so he might have just detained her for now. I think she could also be the first victim of one of Beyond's curses, because that would be a sure way for her to die, since her ability can't use the killer's life energy to bring her back to life. Zerainik, however, is already aware of the special martial law since he's 10 seconds in the future. Salkov might be watching the parallel reality right now, and Zerainik has already bolted out of there. Or Zerainik will pull a Theta on Benjamin. Like Benjamin comes in and just shoots Zerainik in the head, thinks the job is done and leaves, but that would just be the vision, and in reality Zerainik just dodges. But Benjamin would have to leave the room really fast before the realities align again and he can see the Zerainik being alive. Unless Zerainik goes to lie down the exact spot where he dies in the vision and then just plays dead until everyone leaves or something. I don't know, there is no way of predicting what will happen, but I am very interested to see the final outcome of everything. Then when it comes to the other princes, I don't think Sequil can do anything against Bisky. Balsamelko said in chapter 363 that hunters generally have more knowledge about Nen than they do, and Rich showed that by absolutely destroying Genjidol. Furikov is an exception since his Nen was awakened at birth, but some of these hunters like Vincent and Kanjidol just seem pretty bad when it comes to fighting hunters. So with Sequil, I think it's unlikely he can do anything against Bisky. So with Zhanglei and Lazarus on the run, Tubeppa and Tyson are the only princes who are going to the room 1001. And I'm not sure what Benjamin's plan is to kill them, but Rihan says that he will go speak to everyone alone, the princes and their guards, while Benjamin's guards wait outside. So maybe he goes in alone and deploys the poison that he put in his boots. I'm not sure if that's TSK-17. There is no reason to assume it is anything else, but he would just die before the other princes, since he's already been infected, so not sure what his plan is exactly. Briefly touching Full Metal Alchemist before wrapping things up, just from looking at all of the icons, this has to be one of the most versatile ability we have seen in Hunter x Hunter, and I can think of countless applications and interactions it has. Like every ability that is on the Black Whale right now could be powered up or destroyed potentially. However, because you cannot use Hatsu while using it and it takes a long time, it is pretty much useless in combat. Like you can't do what Knuckle does with Hakoware and stall out the opponent until they go bankrupt. Like Fury Furikov can't stall out the fight until the decoding and crafting is complete while fighting someone, because it just takes too long and Nen battles are usually over pretty quickly. Many of the combat abilities just instantly win you the fight if the conditions are met. This would absolutely counter Cheetah's game of tag, however, if the decoding and crafting would last under 8 hours. But I would love to see more of this ability, and if Saraynik would kill Benjamin, there's a chance Furikov would improve Kurapika's ability, so that way he would get his vengeance against Saraynik. But anyway, thank you for watching me yap about 415. Please tell me your predictions for the next chapter, and I hope you have a great day.